Hello, welcome to Bry's Book and Film. The film I'm going to talk about today is a film called Slasherette Party, a 2020 horror. It's one of these slasher horror films, and it had a whopping 3.4 rating on Prime. I watched it on Prime. Thank heavens I didn't pay for it because I would have been wanting my money back. It was actually, it actually wasn't a bad film. It's about a young woman that's going for her. She's going to be getting married, and it's a bachelorette party, really. Directed by, I've got the notes here somewhere. Angelica de Alba and Paul Ragsdale. Stars. It's got an ensemble cast because it's a bachelorette party and a co-ed. It's a co-ed bachelor party, bachelorette party. Molly Sousa, who plays Bree. Andrew Brown plays Dolph. Brooke Morris plays Alexa. She's the maid of honour. Daniel James Moody plays Finn. He's the best man. Nina Lenny Kent, Louis Meyer, Shalene Prasad, Vanessa Matta, Katie Hudson, Devin March, Jasmine March, Kyle Weisner, Robert Holloway, Drew Marvick, Crystal Shea, Jessica Bertrand, and Ginger Lynn. Now, if you remember Ginger Lynn from the olden times, then So anyway, so it starts off with Bree, the leading lady. She's approaching her groom, and the groom, Dolph, who's a real grade 1 bellend, stabs her. He just sticks her right in the abdomen. Then she wakes up with a start because, it's all a dream. So she's had this nightmare. Then we go to the therapist's office, and, the therapist says, well, why don't you write down everything? She's anxious about getting married to Dolph because she knows that Dolph is a bellend. And she's anxious about it. And the therapist says, well, who's played by Ginger Lynn, why don't you write down everything you dislike about Dolph? So it turns out to be like a 300-page dissertation on everything she hates about Dolph. As part of the exercise. So we then, all her friends are pushing her into this bachelorette party, and you've got to go, and it's going to be quality, and it's, a cabin in the woods, and it's co-ed, and it's going to be great. So she reluctantly goes along with it. She's not really feeling it. She gets there, she has a row with her groom-to-be Dolph about her wifely duties and how he's not getting any, and she needs to start putting out a bit more, or he's going to find somebody that will. This is the sort of character that Dolph is. So then we sort of go, we go on, and there's various bits of chit chat. It's not, the acting's not too bad. I mean, this isn't, what was that film, Birdemic? It's not as bad as that. At least the sound matches, which is why this film gets a 1 knocked over coffee cup. The grading's going to be tough on these films from now on. I'm not going to be going gentle on these films. This is a knocked over coffee cup. Birdemic, if you recall, had just the component parts of the coffee, the kettle, the jar, the mug, etc. So this is a little bit better than that. At least the sound matched. So it's going to be a 0 to 5 grading, with 0 being the component parts, and 5 being, for films like Double Impact and Convoy. They're sort of, but because I've made them before the coffee cup rating, but they do. So anyway, so I watch the bad films, so you don't have to. You're welcome. Anyway, so then because Bree's anxiety overtakes, she then goes wandering off in the woods. Some of the friends go and find her. The groom isn't interested. Then we end up with Bree sort of violating herself with a part of a tree, like a big twig, and she draws in blood all over herself, which is a bit odd. And then she changes. A couple of the friends find her. A couple of the friends go wandering off, but male and female go wandering off. because they're going to hook up. He's going to get some, but they both get slashed by these masked assailants. So it's Brett and I don't know, whatever her name was, Pretty Blonde, right? So they've gone off to hook up, but they've been slashed to pieces. So Bree gets back to the cabin with the two friends. The best man, Finn, he decides he's going to go wandering off, and then he gets beaten up. Don't understand it. Well, I understand getting beaten up, but I don't understand why he wandered off. He's had a row with Dolph and blah, blah, blah. Anyway. So things are moving along. The maid of honour, Alexa, she's anxious to everybody to have fun. She wants everybody to enjoy themselves. You know, she's a bit manic about it, really. But meanwhile, Bree and one of her other friends, Naya decides she wants to declare her undying love to Bree, so they make out on the bed. You know, there's that. You wouldn't watch this film with your gran in the room. I mean, you wouldn't subject your gran to this. So Naya and Bree make out in the bed. They declare their undying love. They're now in love. Bree's going to split up from Dolph. Meanwhile, the two masked assailants are now, you know, they've Dolph is going out with one of the friends in the female friend group, and that gets discovered, so she gets chucked out of the house. Then one of the masked assailants chops her up or whatever. It's just proper slasher flick. Then one of the other female friends opens the front door, but of course she has to just be wearing a bra and pants and an open shirt, so we can see that. Why that happened, I don't know. Then it all just sort of goes wrong, everything, and then these two masked assailants start to murder everyone. You know. Meanwhile, no, Dolph has the two strippers, and they're giving him a lap dance, and they're shaking their jubblies around and whatever. But then the two strippers give Bree a lap dance as well, which Dolph has got the needle about, so he sort of calls that off. And then, you know, one of the other in the groom party goes off for a private show with the two strippers, and then the two strippers they get stabbed to death in the bath. He gets stabbed to death as well, and just senseless killing, really. It's just senseless. No sort of real no real motive. Well, the motivation is, it turns out the two masters. Meanwhile, I'm jumping ahead. Meanwhile, the therapist has been called to the cabin in the woods, because that's what they do. They just turn up when somebody's having a bit of an episode. They just rock up, and they don't think about charging $300 an hour. They just do it for the love of it. So the therapist is in the house, and it turns out that the two masked assailants are the sons of the therapist, Dr. Petra, I think her name is. Doesn't matter. She's played by Ginger Lynn, and she just wants her sons to find a nice girl, and one of these girls in the bridal party is going to fit the bill, apparently. She wants her sons to be able to talk to women and communicate to women, because they're nice boys, even though they've just murdered 10 people between them. Meanwhile, while all the killing is going on, Dolph hides away in a closet somewhere. Naya gets stabbed, and then Bree declares her undying love and says, she says to one of the killers, we could make a go of it and blah, blah, blah. Then she sees that Naya, her new Doris, is still alive. So she forgets Seth, the murderer, and just runs straight to Naya. He realises he's been duped, and then Dr. Petra gets her head chopped off with an axe in one fell swoop, because that's possible and happens. And Naya's taken her last breaths, with Bree climbing all over her, telling her how much he loves her and can't live without her, and blah, blah, blah. And then we end up with a shot of Bree sitting in the bath with the shower on, trying to wash away the sins or whatever, I don't know. And then she wakes up in bed with Dolph. And it was all, he said, yeah, they killed all my bros too, And then that's pretty much it. So I've given this review. I'm going to put this as an age-rated review because there is in the film topless strippers, and they do a little show in the bath, and there's various shots of women in negligees and stuff in the film. So that's why this one has got the 18 rating, which will probably affect the view count, but it is what it is. I watched the film with Mrs. Grills. It had a whopping 3.4, like I said, on Prime. It wasn't the worst film I've ever seen. Birdemic takes the... I've sat through The English Patient. This is 40. Birdemic. Yikes, that's 3 of the worst films I've ever seen. So, while not the worst film I've ever watched, I certainly wouldn't want to watch it again. I wouldn't want to sit through it again because it was just diabolical. Because I thought the doctor fancied Bree. I said to Mrs. Grills, does she like the young woman then? And Mrs. Grills said, no, I don't think she does. I think she's there for some other reason. And she was there for some other reason. A very flimsy, tenuous reason, but she was there for a reason nonetheless. So that happened. I watched the bad films, so you don't have to. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.